Hi. Today we're on the last lesson of 1 Peter. We're finishing up. I'm going to read you an excerpt from this book called Outposts of Love by Maria Ann Hirschman. We're going to look at why some persecuted Christians stay close to the Lord and why some fall away. A little background. Maria, she grew up in Czechoslovakia during World War II. She ended up becoming a Nazi youth. She made Hitler her god. She worshipped him, and she just thought Nazis were wonderful. She did not know about the Holocaust, however. At the end of World War II, she realizes just how horrible Hitler was. She ends up getting saved. The Lord uses her immensely in ministry. She travels around the world visiting orphanages, spreading the gospel, and helping persecuted Christians. And on one of her travels, she ends up in Romania. She's at a prayer meeting in one of the churches that's persecuted, and they're praying for these two individuals, Joseph and Vasile. And they're both in prison. They were both church leaders. They were encouraging people in the midst of communism, to pointing people to the Lord. They were passing out Bibles, and they end up in jail. Joseph continues following the Lord while Vasile doesn't. And they're praying for these two men at a prayer meeting. So I'm going to read you the excerpt from the book. All right, Maria says, "Whenever I had found myself in the reach of communism and the possibility that we could be captured, I had begun to ask myself the same question. Could anyone brainwash me again? Would I stay true to Jesus Christ no matter what they did to me? How could I know that I couldn't be deceived again?" Bill responds. Bill, one of the church leaders at the church that they're praying at. He says, "Joseph and Vasile were a typical example of what we found. A believer who keeps his eyes on Jesus cannot be moved. Joseph is proving that point. They are interrogating him as much as 12 to 15 hours a day. That is absolute torture to anyone's brain. It is a deadly cat and mouse game and wears a person down more than imprisonment. But Joseph is holding up. I visited him just a few days ago and recorded an interview. We smuggled the tape out, and I want you to listen to it. Joseph is ready for prison and torture for Christ." Vasile, on the other hand, kept his eyes on man. He was a deep admirer of Joseph and followed a human leader. Regardless of how great or good a person is, trusting in another human being can be shaken. The communists fabricated lies about Joseph and Vasile believed them. They could not have lied about Jesus Christ to him. So it is in many cases. The devil is a master of lying and falsehood. He will smear any child of God. If people look at other people, they build their faith on drifting sand. If they keep their eyes on Jesus, nobody can get to them. And then Maria responds, "Thank you, Lord," I said, as tears began to roll. Bill didn't know what he had just done for me. His words had taken a nagging worry out of my heart, a fear that I perhaps had carried in me ever since I had found the Lord. I was so afraid of brainwashing because I knew the devilish subtlety of it, and I had wondered if anyone could ever again turn me against truth. Now I had found the answer, and peace flooded my heart. It sounded so simple, and yet it was special, real, and great. Keep your eyes on Jesus alone. And that leads us into the account of Peter walking on the water. So Peter is going out to Jesus in a storm, and he has his eyes fixed on Jesus, and he's doing great. But let's read from Matthew chapter 14, verses 30 and 31. It says, "But when he," Peter, "saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, 'Lord, save me!' Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him." So Peter got his eyes off the Lord, and it caused problems. But the Lord is so loving and so merciful, and he reaches out to Peter and he helps him. And so tonight, I want you guys to talk about how we can be strong in the Lord, how we can keep our eyes on Jesus, and why it's so important, and how he helps us in our struggles. And just remember, no matter what we face in this life, it's temporary. This is our temporary home. Just like here at camp, we have all our temporary homes. There's mine. They're just for a little while, and then we'll be going home to the Lord and with Jesus. So have a wonderful home fellowship.